All right, we all good to go?
We are.
All right, just making sure I've got everything going here. Yep, okay, we are recording, we are good to go. All right, so you're a candidate for U.S. Senate, and I know you sent a lot of examples of like news articles and write-ups about, an election guide or a candidate guide that just kind of skirt over, no party affiliation candidates. Is that, talk me through that, what that's kind of been like for you as a candidate, trying to get coverage, trying to make sure that your message gets out there to voters. What is it like when you see that?
So to start off, with the First Amendment, we have a free press. So they have the choice to discriminate if they want to. However, to be credible, you kind of have to give the facts. And that's where our broadcast information has been mostly opinion-based and not necessarily all the facts. And so that's where I have learned, based upon the Florida Press Association Mason-Dixon poll, that they used an availability bias or heuristic to skew the results towards the major political parties. And so that's where I am trying to present that information so that people hear that it's not just a duopoly in our government, that there are other candidates that want to make our country better. And that's where I appreciate you interviewing me so I can explain this.
What do you think, why is it important that we have candidates outside of those two main parties? What is that important for voters?
So I looked at the Florida Division of Elections website, and there's nearly 4 million no party affiliate voters. If you include third parties, it's over 4 million. And so the press excludes almost a third of the voting population by not giving them all the choices is what's polarizing our society. And that the press organizations are using and the political parties are using what's called a desirability bias, that they are using negative ads so that you would be more desirable to them rather than them explaining how good they are.
Now, when we're looking at how these races often end up, when you're looking at like the number of votes that go towards certain candidates, how can, in a situation where maybe a no party affiliation candidate isn't, projected to win something, and again, probably as a result of a lot of things like you just explained, what can that candidate still achieve when their name is on a ballot?
Oh, it's having the ability to speak to other people about politics, being able to have new ideas and plans to implement those ideas. I use the slogan "Time for Change," which is an acronym, term limits for Congress, and the aristocracy and corruption that goes with politicians that are secure in their seats, immigration court reform. Immigration court is part of our Department of Justice, and we need to make sure that our borders are secure and provide and incentivize legal immigration, similar to what we had in the past with immigration stations over in Ellis Island and Angel Island. Big thing for me is making sure that we are safe here, and so I'd like to expand the military, and one of the ways to do that is by including more civilian branches like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There's the federal agencies of the AmeriCorps that provides help and assistance to our country and the Peace Corps that provided throughout the world. I'd like them to be part of the military so that they have the adequate funding so that we are making other places better and and this country as well. And the last is environment beautification, to protect and preserve our natural and human environments. And there's so many different other items that affect us that I could keep going, but those are the 4 main points.
Okay. What do you think as a voter, like when we walk into the voting booth, we walk in, we've been seeing all of these ads for, the Republican and Democratic candidate, and then they come in and they see your name. What is the struggle for you that you've found? Do you think that are voters aware that you're running? I mean, are you finding that that so much attention is being focused on those two parties that the other candidates like yourself are having trouble even kind of getting a space?
Yes, the debate is the main avenue where people can see the candidates actually in an adversarial position. Myself as an attorney, when I go to court, I'm advocating on behalf of my client, and there's normally another attorney advocating on behalf of theirs, and a judge is deciding based upon the law and the facts. That's what the debate is supposed to be, so that all of the voters can decide for themselves based upon their own values and the facts that the candidates provide. And when the press exclude people from that, the qualified candidates from that, we are left with a choice of left or right, and I think it's time we move forward.
What kind of change do you think that we need in this seat, as far as what we've had in the past and the candidates that are running now? What's going to be different if you were elected?
Well, one is the negativity. As a mayor, the whole thing that I had is that everyone has the right to their own opinion, but that opinion may not be right for everyone, because agreeing to disagree is a sign of friendship. And so that's where the civil discourse has been eradicated from our politics that they present to us, where Congresswoman Demings was calling Rubio a liar or cheater, and that you had Senator Rubio's campaign saying to stop the radicals. And, for me, knowing history, I know that radical Republicans were the ones that ended slavery. I know that Galileo was a radical who had the idea that the earth revolved around the sun. So it's something where we can't have this type of negativity, and that's what I'm trying to bring forward. Plus, if you only think that there is two options, you're playing a political seesaw, where we've seen for so long that it just keeps on going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. And that's where if you have more independent people getting elected, there's a less chance of the polarization and the partisanship that we see, because I feel bipartisanship is an oxymoron. You can't do both.
What do you think long term that the future for no party affiliation candidates are? Do you think this landscape changes in the future?
Absolutely. So I got a lot of ridicule saying that if you vote for me, that it doesn't matter, which it does, and that I'm taking away votes from a Republican or Democratic candidate that they like. But we are great because our country is great because we vote for the best candidate. And so this is the movement for that next generation. My grandfather is 95 years old, was in World War II, but that generation is going away. We have the baby boomers, and so the goal is that we are fighting for the future of the country so that it is not a political mess that we see all over the world.
I want to go back to what you just said. Oh, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Something popped up. I'm sure it's not. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. So when you went back, I want to go back to you said about, the ridicule, that you face, the things that people say, like you're taking votes away. Is that for, that's a way, I think, that when I look at it, like a no party affiliation candidate, that say it's a race where that person maybe isn't projected to win, but they can still have an impact on the election. It's a sort of a perfect example of, like, your vote matters. Your vote always matters, no matter who you send it to.
Right. And I use the quote, nothing good comes from choosing between the lesser of two evils. So unless you feel that any of the candidates are the best candidate and you're choosing someone because you don't want someone else, it's not really what you want for the future. And if we settle for less, we will get less.
What is the path forward for no party affiliation candidates when it comes to future elections, future offices that are going to be coming open? How much are they going to become part of that political landscape and become, really big movers in these elections?
So my experience as a mayor, I used to be the youngest mayor in Florida back in 2016. And so in my area, there is a lot more younger people running for office because they saw that I could get elected. Hopefully this doesn't discourage other people from running for office. You know, I did the biggest thing I could to make the biggest change that I could. And so that's what the hope is that more people get involved, and that it's not just a choice between Democrats or Republicans, that more people will look at the other parties, more people will get involved, because when people don't get involved in our government, that's when we have problems. And you know what we have with the 15th Amendment, what we have with the 19th Amendment of our U.S. Constitution, what we have with Amendment 4 back in 2018, restoring the voting rights for people who have served time. I think that's the important part, is that we are all on Team USA here, and you can't bash your teammates and feel like you're going to win overall, because there are other countries that we are competing against. I studied abroad in China, and it's something where that is a superpower that's 5,000 years old that wants to regain its status as the #1 country in the world, through whether it's economic or military means. And so that's where back in the day, in 2001, over 20 years ago, when someone attacked the U.S., we all got together. And that's the situation that we're in now. It's not a if, it's a when, because there is human nature. We need to make sure that we are safe and that we prevent or try to stop any sort of intrusion on our self-determination, our democracy, because that's what I feel is that God gave us, the ability to choose our own lives. And in this country, you get to elect your own leaders. And I would not want to wake up every day thinking that I don't have those freedoms anymore.
2 more questions for you, and I won't take up any more of your time, but I just wanted to ask. So one thing when it comes to having the 2 major political parties, I'm trying to figure out a way to not sound like I'm phrasing it, but it encourages debate, like you were talking about earlier. It encourages discussion. It sort of brings 2, oftentimes polarizing, but viewpoints into one discussion. How do we continue having those conversations if the step forward is to kind of take the focus away from those 2 major political parties? How do we ensure that everybody's voice is still going to be heard?
When anybody speaks, their voice is heard. When someone wants to listen or not, that's another story. Because a lot of people are turning off their ears when it comes to political speech because of the conversations that the 2 parties are having. So that's where, if you have something new, I feel more people will be engaged. The fact that I was just a local mayor and did what I could for my city, and that I want to do more for my country and the world, I hope that inspires people to get more involved. One of the things that I first did was joined an advisory board, because that's where the civic organizations, the community organizations, I feel have deteriorated ever since the internet bloomed and blossomed. So we need more people to getting together for good things and not necessarily for bad things.
Right. And just one more, I know you touched on a few things earlier, but just for voters out there, when they walk in and they see your name on that ballot, what do you want them to know about you?
Is that, I represent people. I don't represent a political party. I am there to do whatever I think is best for everyone. And it's something where, as mayor, I learned that whatever you do, there's going to be somebody that likes it and somebody dislikes it. And I'm planning for the future, because if you spend $1 today, you don't have it tomorrow. And I feel that the country is incredibly in debt, that we need to start funding reducing that debt, because the current infrastructure plan that paid $200 billion down, or $250 billion down, it would take 120 years at that rate if we didn't add any more. So it's something where the common sense for people to do what's in their interest, because if you follow the money, there are billions of dollars being spent on these political parties, these candidates, through our corrupt campaign finance laws that are not necessarily in the best interest, and they're using certain people's biases and heuristics to skew an election which may not be in their own best interest. So to sum it up is that I represent people and not a political party. I'm here to make the world a better place.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording really quick. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go.
All right. Well, I got my recording, so you don't mind smiling for me?